Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for ellenhudson.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am excited to introduce the brand new hot foil stamps from the Essentials by Ellen line. These are available exclusively at ellenhudson.com and they will be available tomorrow, so you will not want to miss these. These three hot foil stamps have holiday sentiment designs, and they include the sentiments Happy Holidays, Believe, and Jingle All the Way. Now, these hot foil stamps are designed to work with a hot foil system like the Crafter's Companion foil press that is compatible with the Gemini Junior, or the Spellbinders Glimmer machine, which is compatible with the Platinum 6 from Spellbinders, as well as the Sizzix Big Shot. So I'm going to be using the foil press today from Crafter's Companion, and I'm turning it on and I'm allowing my plate to heat up while I do a little bit of prep work. This does not take long at all. And I'm starting with the Happy Holidays sentiment and a piece of teal cardstock. And I'm going to place this where I want it on my card front. And I'm going to use a little purple tape to hold this in place, kind of creating a little hinge where I can lay this back and then add my foil underneath. This just helps me position this onto my card front a little bit better. And then I'm going to be using some gold hot foil from Crafter's Companion. This is designed to work with the foil press. The glimmer foils would work with this as well, but the ThermoWeb iCraft Deco foils, that's a different kind of foil, and so that's not going to work with this. These are heat transfer foils, and so these are designed to work with these heat transfer systems. Now, once my foil press is ready to use, it does make a beeping sound and the light turns green. And I'm going to place this hot foil stamp onto the plate so the stamp is actually directly touching the plate so that it can heat up. And then I'm going to set my timer. You can see my light is green there. I set it for 10 seconds, and then I'm going to remove all of the plates, including that top plate, and send this through my Gemini Junior machine. And this is going to leave me with an image that is pressed into the cardstock and foiled. So it's kind of like combining foiling with letterpress. It is absolutely beautiful. You can see when I flip this back, I have a gorgeous foiled image on this cardstock, and it is pressed in. And I'm just going to tell you, there is nothing like foil on a card. It is so beautiful. Now, in order to add some depth and dimension to this panel, I'm going to do a little ink blending, and I'm starting out with the Concord and Ninth Peacock ink and a blending brush, and I'm going to bring this in. I'm getting fairly close to that foiled image. Now, the foil will actually resist the ink if I go over it, so I'm not concerned about avoiding that area, but I'm just kind of building up some color. And then I'm moving on to the Concord and Ninth Midnight ink and blending that more towards the edges to kind of deepen up those edges. And then finally, I'm using the Catherine Pooler Blackjack ink and just adding that barely to the edges to kind of intensify that darkness around the edges. And this gives a beautiful spotlight effect to that foiled sentiment. And I just finished this off with a couple of watercolored holly berry leaves from the Christmas Characters stamp and die set from the Essentials by Ellen line. Now I'm going to use my hot foil stamp to press some foil onto an acetate front for a shaker card. So I've cut this heat-resistant acetate down to the size that I want, and I'm just working on top of a piece of this teal cardstock so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm placing this with the stamp side down onto my acetate, and I am adding the foil between the acetate and the hot foil stamp. Now, you always want to add your foil with the pretty side facing you or the pretty side touching the actual ridges of the stamp. And just like before, I am going to lay this hot foil stamp side down onto my foil press platform. I'm going to add the top plate, and then I'm going to set my timer for about 16 seconds here. And once that timer runs down, I can remove the platform and the plate from the foil press base, run that through my Gemini Junior, and then I will be able to remove this, and I will have this foil pressed onto this heat resistant acetate, and it is absolutely beautiful. Now you're going to see as I remove this foil from the acetate, I had a couple areas where I had some overfoiling. And I really do think it's because I had that extra cardstock in there, which added pressure to areas. You can see there's a little bit of overfoiling in the loop of the Y there on the bottom, as well as in the loop of the J at the top. I'm just going to take the edge of my scissors, kind of the blunt edge, and just gently scrape that away. Because there wasn't a ton of pressure, it's not really pressed into the acetate, and this comes off rather easily. So if you have some areas of overfoil, there are ways to fix it, and I actually had that happen in my next card project as well, and I'm going to show you how I remedied that. So here is my foiled acetate window, and I'm going to create a frame. So I am using the Essentials by Ellen Essential Rectangle Dies to die cut this Nina Solar White card panel. It is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to use that outer frame that's left over as a shaker frame window. So in order to adhere the acetate to this frame, I'm using a little bit of this Be Creative or score tape along the back of it. And because there's areas where it's going to overlap at the corners, I'm just removing the backer as I work my way around this frame. So once I get adhesive all the way around the frame, I am going to add this foiled acetate piece right in the center of the frame. It is cut just slightly smaller than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, just so that it would fit nicely within the frame, but still kind of seal off the edges for me. So you can see I'm just getting my head right over it so I can center that really well. And now I have my frame ready to go with the foiled acetate panel. Now to add some dimension to this frame, I have doubled up my foam adhesive, and I'm cutting small little strips from this foam adhesive to add around the back side of the frame. This is going to add some dimension to the frame and allow the guts of my shaker card to shake around really easily. Now, once I get all of those in place, I am going to take my powder tool and I'm going to go around the inside edge of this foam adhesive to prevent some of my shaker guts from adhering to the edge of that foam adhesive as it's kind of shaking around. Now I went ahead and blended a piece of that teal cardstock just like I did in the previous card example, and I'm using that behind my shaker window here to add some color and some intensity. And I'm just adhering that onto my card base using a little bit of tape runner adhesive. And then I'm going to fill my shaker card with some various kind of wintry bits. I have some snowflake sequins. They're kind of old. They're in my stash. You could use a mix of sparkling clear sequins. And I'm also adding these high supply sparkly stars. They are absolutely gorgeous. And some snowflakes that were available exclusively from the Essentials by Ellen. And so there's just a mix of all of these different wintry typed sequins. I placed those directly onto my card front and I'm just allowing it to sit there, and I'm powdering the inside edge, as I mentioned, of this foam adhesive to kind of keep those sequins from sticking to it. Then I removed the backer from the foam adhesive and placed it directly over my card front and pressed it down. And now I have this beautiful foiled acetate shaker card. It is so beautiful in person. I wish you could just see this. Sometimes these cards are it's really hard to kind of pick up their beauty on film or on camera, but this one is absolutely gorgeous and I love the way it turned out. So now let's go ahead and move into our third card project for today. This one features the Believe, and this one is maybe my favorite. It's my favorite card for sure of today, but it's also maybe my favorite sentiment. I love this sentiment so much. And because the foil is opaque, it's perfect for layering over other types of backgrounds. So you saw it layered over dark cardstock. You saw it on acetate. Now I'm going to create a watercolor background and layer the foil right over the top. Now you could also do this with stamped images. It works perfectly because the foil is going to go right over the top and you're not going to be able to see through it. So I've had the hankering for some watercolor, and while I am no watercolor artist, I can create a very beautiful swoosh of color onto my cardstock. I've gone ahead and taped it to a hardboard here. It's actually a cutting board. And I am using my Kuretake Gonzai Tombi watercolor. And in order to intensify the color right along the top of this kind of color swash that I'm making, I'm adding more layers of color, and then I'm going to come in with the black watercolor and add that along the top as well. Now, throughout this process, I will dip my brush back into my water and just kind of bring some more water into the area to allow the paint to move a little more freely. And then I'm going to kind of tip this up to allow some of that paint to kind of move down into that wet area. And then I'm going to heat set it once I get it where I want it. And after I heat set it, this is going to dry back quite a bit. Remember that watercolors kind of fade back. And so in order to kind of maintain and keep the intensity of color, I went ahead and repeated this process and added another layer of paint right over the top. And I'm speeding this up because you don't want to be here until next Thursday. At least I think you don't. But you can see I added the color right along the top, and then I'm just going back into the water to allow that paint to kind of move down. That allows it to be more intense at the top and kind of fade out towards the bottom. And once again, to make it just slightly darker along the top, I'm going to add a little bit of that black paint. I'm tipping it up just a little bit, and then I'm going to heat set that. Now, once this is heat set, I am ready to remove that tape that's along the outside, and I have this beautiful piece. I'm going to die cut it using an Essentials by Ellen Essential Rectangle die, and then I'm going to do the same process that I did with the first card. I am going to add my hot foil stamp right where I want it onto my card front and create a hinge using a little bit of purple tape. And then I will add my foil right up underneath that and flip my hot foil stamp right back down onto the foil. And this just ensures that I have my hot foil stamping exactly where I want it on my card front. Now I went ahead and turned up the heat on my foil press. So I actually have it on that center heat setting, and I'm placing this with my hot foil stamp directly onto the platform. I'm giving it about 10-15 seconds, and then I am running this through my Gemini Junior once again. And I went ahead and pulled this out and added a cardstock shim and sent it back through again. And this is actually where I think I messed it up. I think that was a little too much pressure. And you're going to see, I could already tell I had overfoiling by the way the foil was sticking to the cardstock at the base of this. And when I pull it up, you can see I have some overfoiling below my sentiment. This is a result of too much pressure in those areas. And so I really think that that extra cardstock shim was a little too much. But never fear, I just used a regular eraser and I was able to gently go over those areas and it pulled that extra foil up. Because that foil isn't really pressed into the cardstock, it's just a result of contact with the foil and heat, and it's not really pressed into the cardstock. It actually lifts off with that eraser quite easily. This also may have been the effect of so much texture on this watercolor cardstock, because I did use the Arches cold pressed watercolor cardstock and it has quite a bit of texture, so that texture could have added a little bit more pressure to those areas and caused that overfoiling, but I was able to remedy it with no problem at all. So I've die cut the deer antlers die set from some wood veneer paper. These are from the Essentials by Ellen line. They are a part of the holiday release that just released last month. I put a little bit of foam adhesive behind them and added a little bit of liquid adhesive to the back side of that foam adhesive. And then I'm going to add a single red sequin kind of right below that to kind of give you the feeling of Rudolph. At Christmas time, we all want to believe in the magic, and what better way to portray that than Rudolph? Now, I finished this card off with a few more sparkling clear sequins, and I added this card front onto a Nina Solar White top folding card base using some foam adhesive, and this is my absolute favorite of the day. I don't know why, but there's just something about this watercolor mixed with the foil that just makes my heart go boom. So there you have it, 3 cards featuring the brand new hot foil stamps from the Essentials by Ellen line. I hope that you'll leave me a comment below and let me know which of these 3 cards is your favorite. So you can leave it either here on YouTube or over at the ellenhudson.com blog. I will have that linked below for you because over there you can find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed these projects. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications for the ellenhudson.com YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our paper crafting and card making video tutorials. Thanks again for watching. I'm so glad you're here. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.